It really can't be overstated how important Embiid is to the Sixers. Philly went 31-8 with Embiid this season in just 16-27 when he was not on the court. The team averages almost 12 fewer points per game without him. SA, this is serious for you. This is serious because it's not just head, it's heart. A lot of years go into this. Russ, who's a big sports fan here for the Knicks as well, is filming this right now as I ask you this question. I just want you to know behind the scenes, he's standing there awkwardly filming me on his phone. Stephen A., should the Knicks be worried about the Sixers in the first round?
No. I mean, we fine. We fine. Ain't nothing to be worried about. Like I told you before the game. First of all, before the game last night, I said to you, it really, really don't matter. I guess if I got to pick one, I'll pick Miami, but it really don't matter. We wanted both of them personally. Let me get that out the way first. Secondly, this is the biggest reason in all seriousness, Eminem and Legs, why I'm not concerned. Embiid ain't healthy. Embiid ain't healthy, all right? I told y'all that coming to the game. Now I want to hear about last night. Nicholas Batum got Jordan turning over in this palatial mansion because this dude decided to show up and have a pulse, a season high from threes. 6 damn three-pointers. I couldn't believe it. I said, you got to be kidding me. Nicholas Batum, of all people, this brother go out there and he hits some threes. So that was an aberration. Obviously being down 51-39 at the half, Embiid clearly looking hobbled, far from himself. Okay, the Philadelphia 76ers were a bit rattled. They were getting booed in Philadelphia. 12 first-half turnovers, leading to 17 first-half points for the Miami Heat. Then they amped up the pressure, but they were significantly helped along by the fact that Jimmy Butler was hobbled, okay? Because if Jimmy Butler hadn't hurt his knee, all right, and he could do something in the second half, I still believe Miami would be playing the New York Knicks. But that's neither here nor there. In all seriousness, Philadelphia is a damn good team. Nick Nurse is a hell of a coach. He really, really is, okay? And they amped up the defensive pressure, rattled Miami a little bit. Miami was struggling to score, as they are apt to do, and we get all of that. But the other side to all of this is that, again, you've got guys like Maxey who can ball, and he's a star. He deserves max dollars. I'm rooting for him. But you look at the Philadelphia 76ers against the New York Knicks, and you imagine that pressure being amped up. You imagine it intensifying. You imagine those Villanova brothers and Jalen Brunson and Dante DiVincenzo. Hartenstein has been playing well. Hart's been playing well. The defensive pressure is going to be amped up, and the only person that's going to be able to have an answer for the pressure that the New York Knicks are going to bring is Embiid, who once again is hobbled, okay? So, I mean, it's damn near tantamount to Tiger Woods walking the course for 4 days, okay? Day one, he might be absolutely special, but attrition kicks in, and I believe that the New York Knicks know that. They will exercise that. They will exploit that. They will take advantage of that, and they will win this series. I ain't worried about it. I ain't worried.
Tim Legler, I'd like to have your thoughts on this subject. Yeah, could you jump in here real quick?
I'm going to start with this. Look, man, obviously this time of year, you know, we're all working hard, long days. I get back to my room. I'm watching the game. I'm relaxed. I'm watching the game. I'm just taking my notes. I'm going to come in and do my thing. And I'm saying to myself, why am I thinking about Stephen A. Smith? Why am I thinking about my boy right now? You know why? Because I said to myself, nobody should be happier right now than Stephen A., with the exception maybe of Jalen Brunson and Tom Thibodeau, because they're watching that game and they're seeing exactly what you just said, what I saw, which is this. When I watch Joel Embiid play, every single time we talk about him dealing with an injury, which unfortunately has been often, there's a few areas specifically that I'm watching to see. He didn't do any of these things last night. He didn't change ends of the floor with any sense of urgency. When he's playing at his normal peak level, that's what you see. Even a couple weeks ago, when he came back for the injury, he was changing ends of the floor, running the floor. It's just different. He laterally, defensively, when he's peak, he is covering ground. He's tracking guards to the rim. He's going block to block and meeting a baseline driver at the rim, game-changing defensive plays. Didn't see any of that last night. He's also sealing guys in the paint, demanding the basketball. Didn't see any of that last night. He had some shot making in the fourth quarter that mattered and a couple of big passes.
Yes, he did.
He's always going to do that because he's highly skilled and he's ginormous. He's going to do that. It's the other stuff. When he becomes something that is too big for a team to deal with, he's not there, Stephen A. And that's why I'm watching this game saying, how could you not favor the Knicks now? based on what you saw out of Joel Embiid last night. And one guy that maybe could have picked up that difference was Maxey, and I'm not saying he won't going forward, but he wasn't special last night. He was okay. Batum bailed them out. I said earlier on Get Up, they should build a statue of him right outside the arena. Before game one of the Knicks series at home, they should build a statue of Nicholas Batum because they would have got swept by the Celtics if they were even survived the Bulls game without Batum last night. I agree with everything you just said, man. I'm sorry. It's hard to think the Sixers can do this if Embiid looks the way he did last night and might get worse each and every game of the Knicks series because that leg is not going to feel better overnight.
So since we're thinking of our colleagues, as we've had this conversation today, Richard Jefferson has popped to mind, and he's a guy who's like, a less percentage of Joel Embiid is still a problem, even if you don't have 100%, which I do think is true. But in the duration of a series, this morning I'm like, do you buy that he gets revved up, he gets accustomed to operating on this one leg, and he gets better? Or is it more likely that the wear and tear of this injury drags his productivity down, right? You still have to have a healthy respect and preparation for the Sixers, which Tom Thibodeau will do with this group. But I do think, as I look at the arc of the Knicks season, since January 29th, I believe, the end of January when Julius Randle goes down, Jalen Brunson has only continued to elevate. He's continued to lead this group to find a way. That is truly a mantra that they believe. And even though Randle was involved in that matchup back on January 5th when the Knicks blew out the Sixers in Philly with Joel Embiid, he's no longer available, but this team now has OG Anunoby that is healthy too. And so I think if you're the Knicks, you understand the growth of your bigs. Isaiah Hartenstein has gotten better over the course of the season. Mitchell Robinson is back. If you need the body and the physicality of Jericho Sims, you have that as an option to contend with the size of Joel Embiid. And other than that, you rely on a defense that, just like the Nuggets and the Boston Celtics, was top 10 both offensively and defensively in terms of net rating. And so the rhythm that the Knicks have been playing with to end the season, to me, should give them confidence.
Details include Jontay Porter giving a better information about his own health status prior to Toronto's game on March 20th. That bet would have won over $1 million. At least 13 bets on NBA games were placed using someone else's betting account, including betting the Raptors to lose, according to the league's investigation. The bets range from $15 to $22,000. Okay. SA, the league coming down hard on this. Your reaction to the ban on Porter?
Well deserved. Absolutely necessary. I'm incredibly sad for Michael Porter Jr., for the Denver Nuggets, who's the reigning defending NBA champions, preparing to defend their crown and having to be preoccupied with something like that because you know that's his brother. And he's going to be asked an abundance of questions. There's no way around that. For your brother to not think about you, how this would potentially affect you if you're Michael Porter Jr., for him not to think about himself, his name, his family, the league, to be so incredibly, incredibly irresponsible. You had to take this action if you're the commissioner, Adam Silver. This is an egregious offense. There is no way around that. And it's significant coming from me because I'm one of those people who has religiously defended Pete Rose, who was banned for life from baseball, from the standpoint that I've highlighted how murderers and rapists and others have gotten out of jail, for crying out loud. Where's your compassion? Where's your forgiveness? With all the things that this man did for the game of baseball, why would you do that to him? But nevertheless, you look at this kid, you just came into the league, you're averaging less than 5 a game. To take yourself out of games, with one game, Tim Eminem, he took himself out after 3 minutes claiming to be sick. That was a game he bet on. Another game he highlighted and gave, a status report on his health, before bets were made. When you see stuff like that, literally betting on the game, you're compromising the integrity of the game for all parties involved. For you to either be a gambling addict to the point where you couldn't help yourself, or you just didn't give a damn about the league, about the brand, about anything, you bring the hammer down on somebody like that. You bring the hammer down on an issue like this. You can't put the integrity of the game into question, especially in this day and age with sports betting now becoming a fabric of sports on a legal basis. It always was to some degree, but now it's legal in various states throughout the nation and what have you. You can't do that. You can't do that. And so it was real sad. I heard Charles Barkley doing an interview on NBA radio yesterday where he was saying that, he kind of wished that they had given him like a 5-year ban or whatever because you want to give a kid an opportunity to make amends and resurrect himself. And I understand that thinking. But in the end, this was so egregious. And it put if you don't address it with the seriousness that it deserves, it can encourage others to potentially do the same. You can't take that chance if you're a sports league. You got to bring the hammer down. And that's exactly what Adam Silver did, and he was absolutely right to do so.
Yeah, completely agree. Listen, it's 100% justified, the lifetime ban. Here's the bottom line. When you're talking about watching sports, the one thing you can't have is anybody that's watching to think that anything to do with this game, the outcome's been decided in any way, even something as small as, oh, well, I'm not an important player necessarily to the team, so I can just get around it this way. I just will pull myself out of a game because I won't play my normal minutes and I'll get to the under on minutes. It seems like a minor thing to some people. The bottom line is there's some aspect of the game now that doesn't seem genuine. People need to be watching sporting events thinking everything you're about to see is random. It's undecided. There's nothing that's going to happen that's already been predetermined. That is what he did. And here's the thing. Every player knows it. You know that you can't do something like this. So this isn't just some honest mistake. He knew what he was doing. It's not like he was making these bets in his own name. It was a different account, different name, because he knew the repercussions and the seriousness of what he was doing. And he just never thought he was going to get caught because it seemed like it innocuous thing. He's probably thinking like, well, I'm not a big name player. Nobody's paying attention to me. But when the betting line moves in that direction, got news for you. They're watching, right? They got eyeballs on that, and it triggered everything that led to this. And you had no other choice, Stephen A., Monica, you had no choice. It had to be the hardest punishment that you could come down with on this young man, and that's exactly what Adam Silver did.
So I want to pull this into a little bit more of a macro conversation because, Stephen A., you're right. Betting is now a part of the fabric of how we consume sport. I understand the decision and the lifetime ban. I am inclined to agree just a little bit with Charles Barkley, and here is why. Whenever things are implemented, right, into a league, and granted, on a base level, you're not supposed to gamble, right? But the way that these partnerships are now emerging, and it is so prevalent, and it is literally how things are consumed, I do think that there's going to be something that needs to be addressed from the league side to its players, players to partners, in terms of reiterating the rules, right? Jontay Porter is wrong, but the entire way that we are consuming sports across leagues, like this is sort of inevitable in my mind, and so I understand why this punishment had to be so sincere. But at the same time, if we are also a league that has conversations about players' health and wellness and mental health, the tenor of games in arenas is changing behind betting. And I understand, you're absolutely right, Tim. A fan needs to be able to turn on a game and trust that they are getting a game that has not been altered in any way. But I do think there is more of a holistic conversation that needs to be being had between the league, the players, maybe the union needs to be involved, just in terms of how this thing is shaping the way that we consume sport all around.